Taekwondo is one of the most widely practiced martial arts in the world, but it's also one of the most criticised. People say the style is too watered down. They say the kicks have no power and that fighters can't even use their hands. But with an estimated 70 million practitioners around the globe, that raises the question, what is Taekwondo actually good for? And why do so many people practice it? So in this video, we're going to try and answer that question. I'm going to talk you through a brief history of Taekwondo, then we're going to talk about some of the common criticisms it faces, and finally I'm going to give you my opinion at the end as to why we think it's both so hated and so popular at the same time. And just so you know where I'm coming from, I've trained in Taekwondo for about 15 years. In fact, I might be going for the record as the longest running red belt because I never took my first Dan before I left the country, and maybe one day I'll get there, who knows. But I still keep up with my training whenever I can. And if you're not already subscribed, please click that button now so you'll stay updated with my latest videos, or give this video a like and let me know where you are in your martial arts journey right now. So although it may look ancient, Taekwondo is actually a fairly recent martial art. It essentially began during the Japanese occupation of Korea, when a number of Korean martial artists learned Japanese martial arts like Shotokan Karate. Among these was General Choi Hong-hai, who is considered by many to be the father of modern Taekwondo. General Choi and his colleagues wanted to create a martial art which was uniquely Korean. He was a Shotokan Karate practitioner, and according to legend, he essentially mixed Shotokan Karate with a traditional Korean kicking game called Taekwondo. Although there is some debate as to how much of an influence Taekwondo actually was, it certainly helped to give Taekwondo its name, which is literally Taekwondo plus the Japanese word do, meaning path or way. And for anyone who thinks that Taekwondo is a purely Korean martial art, just take a look at the first form, which is almost identical to the first form taught in Shotokan. By the 1950s, there were a number of schools or kwons operating under the umbrella of Taekwondo. Taekwondo was really forged and tested in the conflicts in Korea and then later in Vietnam. During this time, there were many Korean soldiers sent to train and fight in the conflicts in Vietnam, particularly some special martial arts squads who were there to teach this newly developed national martial art and train different militant groups on both sides of the conflict. From here, it spread to Vietnamese and Americans, it spread to Europeans and Australians, who then took this martial arts training home with them and developed their own schools. Politics eventually fractured Taekwondo into two main groups. You have WT, they are World Taekwondo and they are headquartered in South Korea. This is the kind that you see in the Olympics. And you have ITF, which is the more traditional kind of Taekwondo. The World Taekwondo organization then spread further and faster, eventually becoming an Olympic sport and gaining a massive following across the globe. However, with this growth and popularity came controversy, as we will see in the next part of the video. One of the largest criticisms of modern Taekwondo is that the style has been so watered down. It is effectively a game with almost no martial elements left. Many claim these belt factories or mukdojos are simply there to make money. They take on students, they charge them for rankings, competitions, uniforms, and then they send them home after a short amount of time with a black belt, regardless of how good their actual training is. And although that may be true to some extent, first of all, it is definitely not exclusive to Taekwondo. The same thing happens with karate, kung fu, and numerous other martial arts. And while I'm not denying that these places exist, there are also plenty of reputable schools out there. We can also kind of understand why these places exist, because as Taekwondo has spread out and gained such a huge following, it is obviously difficult for a single organisation or a group to manage this massive expansion. We also then have issues like, should we teach dangerous warfare techniques to children? So I'm not saying it's a good thing to create these sterile, watered down martial arts. However, for many people, Taekwondo is not just about fighting efficiency. It can be trained for fitness, focus, confidence, flexibility, balance, coordination, dozens of other reasons. And as a result, people should attempt to choose the kind of school which suits them best. Some will be more competitive focused, others will be more actual combat focused. It's up to the individual practitioner to locate the one which ties in with their needs. The second criticism we often hear about Taekwondo is that it is only kicking. However, I'm here to tell you that is not true in either organisation. The reason for this misunderstanding is because the modern Olympic scoring system emphasises kicks over punches. And because it is purely points based, there is often no point in throwing a punch at all. However, Taekwondo syllabus has a wide range of hand techniques. Also, in ITF Taekwondo, punches and hand strike do score points, so they are far more emphasised. And in fact, some ITF fighters are very skilled boxers as well. So when you mix that with like the jabbing side kicks and some fast hands, you get a very capable fighter. Believe it or not, in the forms of Taekwondo, there is also plenty of grappling as well. A good example of this is the figure 4 lock, or ude garami in Japanese, which comes up again and again in Taekwondo patterns and was deliberately included as part of a kind of grappling system. We also have like the rising block, which is widely criticised for being ineffective. But if you think of that as a throw similar to like Shaolin Sanda, it can actually be a very effective technique. So the truth is, although Taekwondo fighters generally specialise in kicks, it was never only kicks. The third and possibly the largest criticism that many people have of Taekwondo is that the kicks are weak. In recent years, the Olympic style of Taekwondo has taken to using an electronic scoring system in which as soon as a kick is recognised, it automatically registers a point. And yes, this has caused a certain number of problems for Taekwondo fighters. Although they are now super fast at kicking, there is often very little power behind these point scoring kicks. However, this is certainly not all styles and schools of Taekwondo. There are still plenty of WT and ITF schools who are more focused on the traditional combat skills and do not only try to score points. So although this criticism is certainly valid, it is not the be-all and end-all of kicking in Taekwondo. And if we need some evidence to support this, we can just look at some of the fighters who have adapted Taekwondo into MMA, particularly kicks like the spinning back kick and the fast jabbing side kick off the front leg have worked really well for a number of fighters in MMA competitions, and they certainly prove that not all schools and styles are bound by this point scoring way of fighting. So then, returning to the question, what is Taekwondo actually good for? While it may not be the best martial art for self-defense, and some schools are certainly better than others, it has a whole bunch of other areas in which it excels. It is one of the best martial arts in the world for things like speed, agility, coordination and athleticism. It is great for mindset, discipline, focus and confidence, and that is the reason why it is so popular worldwide. If you want to go deeper into any of the history of Taekwondo, you can check out the book A Killing Art by Alex Gillis. This is an incredible deep dive into the way that Taekwondo was formed and developed. Alternatively, you could check out my book, Legendary Masters of the Martial Arts. I talk about the stories of these legends and what's actually true and what's kind of mythology behind them. I'll drop links to both of these in the description below. So now I want to hear from you. Do you think Taekwondo is overrated, underrated, or exactly what it claims to be? Let me know down below. Alternatively, you can check out my other video here talking about Kung Fu, or this video talking about Aikido. Until next time, train hard, stay safe, thanks for watching.